loudly and clearly into it for me. Could you tell us your name, please, ma'am?
I'm Dr. Alice Gooding.
Just spell your first and last name for the court reporter, please.
It's Alice, A-L-I-C-E, last name Gooding, G-O-O-D-I-N-G.
Thank you, Dr. Gooding. Dr. Gooding, how are you employed?
I'm employed both at Kennesaw State University as an assistant professor of anthropology and as a forensic anthropological consultant with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
Now, how long have you been employed in that capacity at Kennesaw State University?
4 years now.
And as a consultant with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, how long have you been doing that?
Approximately 3.
Now, if you will give the jury the benefit of your training and experience to allow you to do your job as an anthropologist, please, ma'am.
I've been trained for approximately 7 or 8 years now at this point through the University of Tennessee, where I received my doctorate degree at the Body Farm, which you may be familiar with, where we instruct and learn about clandestine grave recovery.
And over the course of your time and experience, how many sites of clandestine grave recovery have you worked with?
In forensic cases outside of basic training, approximately 10.
All right. And with regard to those cases, what is the purpose of doing a clandestine grave recovery?
The purpose of doing a clandestine grave recovery is to identify what remains are present and recover them while maintaining the integrity of the evidence.
Okay. And kind of what procedures do you use to do that in general?
In general, we will identify the grave through a number of observational techniques. Then we'll excavate it using trowels and other similar excavation tools, screen the dirt and soil, and identify any bone remains that may come out of the grave and any other evidence.
Now, with regard to your time at Kennesaw State University, what classes do you teach there at Kennesaw State?
I teach a lab course in forensic anthropology, introduction to anthropology, anthropology of death class, human origins course, and a laboratory and physical anthropology course.
Now, were you asked to consult with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation involving this case and looking for remains regarding Ms. Tara Grinstead?
Yes, I was.
And how was it that you came to be involved in this case, Dr. Gooding?
ASAC Todd Crosby contacted me requesting my assistance.
Okay. And did you travel to a location in Benhill County to assist the GBI in a clandestine grave recovery?
Yes.
All right. And tell me what you did when you got there and kind of how it proceeded.
The first time I visited the location, I believe that was on the 22nd of February. We went to a single site in a pine-wooded area. The site had already been identified by Todd Crosby and his team as possibly having human bone or bone of some kind. At that point, we excavated using a grid system, which is a common protocol for excavating a grave. Excavated that site, found no human remains, but some cow bone. And then approximately a week later, returned to a second site on the same property and excavated that site to find human remains.
Now, with regard to, let's just talk about that. The first site that you did excavation on, you said that you had found some cow bones. Is that right?
That is correct.
Now, what is it when you're looking at to identify whether the bone is animal or whether it's human? What are you looking for?
We're looking at the size and shape of the bone. We're looking about how much it weighs, how long it is, any bumps or grooves or features that distinguish it from being a cow versus being a human femur.
Now, so that would be the first site. Did you go to a second location?
Yes.
Right. When was that?
The second location, the 28th of February is when I arrived at the second location.
Now, Dr. Gooding, at the second location, tell me the procedures that you went through at that location.
At the second location, Agent Crosby and his team had already identified an area in which we were going to continue a search. So at that time, I reviewed with him what procedures had taken place, which was already a screening of the topsoil and the ground cover, the leaves, et cetera, had already been screened for any evidence. Then a grid was set up over an area that was marked as a potential burn site. Once we began excavation on that grid, we went down layer by layer. So in anthropology, we work in a flat kind of tabletop manner. So we go down a couple inches at a time. That way we can maintain and figure out where things came from in terms of the layers of the earth.
Dr. Gooding, I'm going to show you just a couple of photographs previously admitted into evidence, that being States Exhibits 53 and 54. I'm asking if you'll look at those, please, ma'am. Are you familiar with what's shown in those photographs?
Yes, I am.
Put them up on the screen for you. So I'm showing you States Exhibit number 53. Can you kind of generally just tell me what we're looking at here?
What we're looking at here is a center stake out of 4 quadrants, and they're all labeled with alphanumeric names like G and F. And within centered around the stake, you can see a diamond-shaped area in which we would have dug a little bit deeper as an area to get a concentrated effort in to recover more.
Now, with regard to each of these, the letters associated with these quadrants here within the diamond, do those correspond later to photographs that you're going to show us of what you recovered?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so with photos later, the letters that we're seeing here on this screen would correspond with where, in what quadrant those items would be found. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now I'm going to show you States Exhibit number 54. It's kind of hard to see on this screen. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me what we're looking at here, please, ma'am?
That looks to be the same 4 set of quadrants labeled with similar letters. In the background, I can see individuals, agents who are screening and raking topsoil and leaf debris, and then also a hand screening device, the white plastic device in the corner.
Now, Dr. Gooding, when you're excavating the area, are you able to? How do you know how deep to go within the soil?
So in archaeology and in anthropology, we work until sterile soil, which is soil that has not been disturbed. Some people call it virgin soil. Basically, we work downward in that tabletop layered fashion until you get all the way to soil that you can tell has not been disturbed previously.
Now, with regard to these locations we've been looking at in these photographs, did you also note colorations in the soil?
In these units, we did see what we could call a discoloration of the soil, or an anomaly, a coloration that's different than what you would expect to find there naturally.
I'm going to show you States Exhibit 53. Does this photograph depict that? I think you may need to see it.
Thank you. Yes, we're looking in the 2 upper units, J and I, and also some into G and F. There is a discoloration of the soil.
And what did the discoloration of the soil indicate to you?
An area that had previously been burned.
Now, throughout the day that you were there, I believe on February 28th, were you asked to look at items found within some of these, or each of these quadrants that were found, to determine whether or not they were human or animal bone or some other item?
Yes, I was physically digging, so every item that was found either by myself or later found by those at the screens I saw.
Now, with regard to those items, what did you do with those items once you saw them?
So once an item had been identified as potentially being osseous or potentially being bone, it was set aside, and those items were bagged and cataloged on site.
And I think you just gave us the definition, but I just want to make sure you said something was osseous. Can
Right.
you tell me what you mean by osseous?
Osseous just means it's of bone. It's made of bone.
And then those were set aside, is that right?
That's correct.
And why did you set them aside?
We set them aside because there was a whole bunch of other debris found with them, other evidence, trash items, metallic, plastic items, and we wanted to keep the bones separate from the trash, essentially.
Now, with regard to those particular items, that being what was osseous or bone, did you have a chance to examine those items and take photographs of those items?
The items were examined and photographed on site and later back in a laboratory setting.
And what was the purpose of photographing them in a laboratory setting?
Better lighting, better camera, stronger analysis.
Good. Dr. Gooding, I'm going to show you a series of photographs, those being State's Exhibits 63 through 90. I'm just going to ask you to kind of look through each of those as a whole at this point. Are you familiar with what is shown in each of those photographs?
Yes, I am.
And generally, what do each of those photographs show?
They're all fragments of human remains.
And with regard to each of those photographs, do they truly and accurately depict the human remains, or the osseous bone material found from the clandestine grave site as we've seen in the prior photographs?
Yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, at this time I would tender into evidence State's Exhibits 63 through 90.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, there in a minute.
Now, Dr. Gooding, I'm showing you State's Exhibit number 63. Try to, Now, as we're looking at State's Exhibit number 63, there, here in this location as well as this location here, tell me what we're looking at there and what that means to describe this piece of bone here.
So Unit F refers to the unit, the square unit that we saw in the prior picture where the item was found.
Now, would that be, in this photograph showing you State's Exhibit number 53, is that within this diamond, that place to the right?
That's correct.
And then with regard to the levels, what does that indicate?
The levels indicate those kind of tabletop layers that we move down in through the soil. So the first layer through the fifth is where this particular fragment was found. And it's the first, item 1, indicating it's the first fragment found from that unit in those levels.
And what can you tell us about this piece of osseous material?
This is a human hand bone fragment. So it's one of the proximal hand phalanges, which is one of the first, kind of before the first knuckle.
Showing you State's Exhibit number 64. And what are we looking at here?
This is the same fragment, just flipped so you can see the other side of it.
So this would also be
This is the same human hand phalanx fragment.
State's Exhibit number 65. tell us what we're looking at here, please, ma'am.
This is a second human proximal hand phalanx, so it's again a portion of a piece of hand, not coming from the one in the prior photograph.
State 66.
This is the same fragment flipped over to view the other side of it.
State exhibit number 67.
This is a portion of the cranial bone called the occipital, which is here in the back of your skull, and this is a small fragment of that bone.
And with regard to these bones, what could you tell about these bones with regard to what had happened to them?
I could tell they'd been burned.
How is it that you could tell they had been burned?
The color and the weight of the bones indicates burning. They're gray and black, bluish, all varying in colors, which are indicative of being burned.
Item 68, or State's exhibit 68.
This is the same fragment that has been flipped over for viewing on the other side.
State's exhibit number 69.
This is another human occipital bone, so it's another fragment from the back of the skull.
State's exhibit number 70.
And again, the same bone flipped over.
State's exhibit 71.
This is a piece of a human vertebra, so it's one facet where the two vertebrae meet one another in your spinal column.
State's exhibit 72.
And that's the same fragment flipped over where you can actually view the facet.
You just used a word there. If you will, tell us what you mean by that.
The facet or the facet is where the two vertebrae kind of high five as they're hanging on to one another in your spinal column.
State's exhibit number 73.
This is a fragment of a human cervical vertebra, which is one of the vertebrae in your neck.
State's exhibit 74.
And that's the same fragment flipped over.
State's exhibit 75.
This is a human tooth showing the crown and the root. This is the same tooth flipped over to see the other side. It's an adult human tooth.
77.
These are two fragments of an adult human tooth.
78.
It's the same tooth and small fragment flipped over. This is a molar root, so one of your back teeth, the root of one of your back teeth. And that's the same fragment flipped over. These are two fragments associated with one another, which means they go together, and they are a portion of the end of your humerus, which is this big arm bone here, right at the elbow.
State's Exhibit number 82.
That's those two fragments at that elbow region that have been flipped over.
State's Exhibit number 83.
This is a fragment of a human foot phalanx, which is the same first bone but in the foot as rather than in the hand.
State's Exhibit number 84.
And that's the same fragment flipped on the other side.
State's Exhibit number 85.
These are three associated fragments, which means they all go together from a portion of the human skull, from the cranium.
State's Exhibit number 86.
Those are those same three fragments flipped to the other side.
State's Exhibit number 87.
These are three associated fragments that go together, also a portion of the human cranium, so around the brain.
State's Exhibit number 88.
Same as the previous three fragments, just flipped over.
State's Exhibit number 89.
This is a fragment of the human temporal bone, which are the bones on the side of your skull here.
And State's Exhibit number 90.
That is the same side of the skull bone that has just been flipped over, so you can see the outside of it.
Dr. Gooding, with regard to each of these photographs and bones that we've looked at and talked about, did each of these bones indicate that they had been burned?
Yes.
And Dr. Gooding, with regard to human bones and burning human bones, how hot would a fire have to be to burn human bones?
That's very temperature dependent and dependent on the body itself and what remains of the body. To get to this degree of burning, it would have to be a very hot fire.
Any idea of what kind of degree that would have to be?
The general threshold is 1,200 degrees for a typical bonfire that would reduce a body to what we would call cremated remains, which are what we found in this case.
Now, with regard to each of those bones that we talked about, related with those photographs, all relating to a human being, is that right?
That's correct.
Judge, I did not formally tender Dr. Gooding as an expert in her field, but I failed to do that. But
Any objection?
we are satisfied that she's an expert.
All right, she's admitted as an expert.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have anything further.
Your Honor, we don't have any cross-examination.
All right, you may step down.
Thank you.
Thank you.